Hello, BookTube. I've got a mail haul for you today on a day that once again, Lord Ganesha and I come to you in the midst of a snowstorm. It is snowing here in Boston. It is predicted to snow all day and then be calm and snow-free tomorrow, and then snow all the next day, and then be calm and snow-free the following day, and then snow all the day after that. So we already had a fresh, thick coating of snow on the ground that hasn't gone anywhere because it was freezing cold yesterday. Now we're going to have even more. But the mail still came through. A pile of packages and also a box. And the box is a problem because the box, I believe, is another violation of rule number 1. It has eBay tape all over it. So somebody ordered me something. But we'll do the others first because it looks like they mostly come from publishers. We'll see what we have here. See if we have anything interesting. I have noticed that I am getting more books from publishers. That's fantastic. That makes Steve very happy. Okay. Goodness gracious. All right, we've got a book of stuff here. This is from W.W. Norton, the folks at W.W. Norton, my favorite non-Penguin publisher. And this is by Michel Nichuis. It is Beloved Beasts, Fighting for Life in the Age of Extinction. And you can tell right from the cover, I don't know anything about this book, but you can tell right from the cover what it means. What it means is charismatic megafauna. That is what it means by beloved beasts. Beasts that we love to see in storybooks, that we love to teach to children. Charismatic megafauna are not the same thing as scrap species that live in the interstices of human life or at human, by your leave, right? Coyotes, for instance, pigeons, rats, mice, voles, lemmings, that sort of thing. They live around the human world, and humans haven't seen fit to eat them or to persecute them, so they exist, but they exist in healthy numbers. But charismatic megafauna do not. They get wiped out. You can see there's a very famous example on this cover of a piece of charismatic megafauna that did get wiped out, the dodo, very famously. But all the rest of these are severely endangered or functionally extinct. All the other animals on this cover are severely endangered or functionally extinct. So this book is probably going to be a little on the depressing side. Let's see what we have here. This book is a vibrant history of the modern conservation movement. Oh, great. Fantastic. It's doomed. The modern conservation movement is doomed because it only seldom even mentions, much less yokes itself to, the movement that is actually necessary here, which is the greening of the population and also population control. Human population control, human birth control. If you don't do that, then the rest of it isn't going to matter. If there are 10 billion humans on Earth, there will be no room for any other animals, except the ones that live in the cracks and crevices of human life or as servants and slaughter animals for humans. But let's see. This is a history of the modern conservationist movement through the lives and ideas of the people who built it. So it could be that this book is not about beloved beasts at all. It's about humans. In the late 19th century, as humans came to realize that our rapidly industrializing and globalizing societies were driving other animals to extinction. Okay. A movement to protect and conserve them was born. In Beloved Beasts, acclaimed science writer and editor Michel Nichuis traces the movement's history, from early battles to save charismatic species such as the bald eagle to today's global effort to defend life on a larger scale. Okay, so this is going to be a profile of human scientists. It's not, the Beloved Beasts might be the object of their efforts, but they aren't going to be the subject of this book. And of course, I quibble just a bit with the phrasing here. This is, after all, the pub sheet, not the book. But I quibble just a bit that our rapidly industrializing and globalizing societies were driving other animals to extinction. I quibble just a little bit with that because that makes it sound like the extinction was a byproduct, when killing every single individual animal in an entire species was almost always the explicitly stated and monetized goal, not a byproduct of industrialization. It was almost explicitly the purpose of the activity. That this animal species exists and we as humans want to wipe it out. We want every example of it living anywhere in existence to be destroyed. Old, young, threats to our crops, not innocent, Doesn't matter. Destroy it. And, if you can think up a really sadomasochistic way to destroy it, sewing mouths shut, for instance, and then leaving it alive to starve to death, well, then you'll get your name in the paper. So I would quibble with that, but I don't know that the author makes that kind of thing. So this comes out in early March. This comes out in the first week of March, right around the corner, in other words, so perfectly situated for me to read. So I'll put this on the list for this week. So what about my ergonomics? Do I have my ergonomics? Oh, God. I can't believe this is still a problem. I've been doing this forever now. I was solving the problem of ergonomics by filming on the floor, where you have all the storage space in the world all around you. But it turns out that at 28, I'm not as young as I used to be. And when I sit on the floor for the length of one of my gassy videos, everything below the equator goes numb. That's you might think, oh, well, so what? Big deal. But when you reach the age of 28, it is a big deal, because every time a part of your anatomy goes numb, you wonder if you're ever going to get it back. So I stopped doing that on a chair instead. All right, what is this next one? More translated literature. Good Lord. This is lovely. Good Lord. This is Swan Isle Press from Chicago. This is a lovely thing with French flaps. This is, okay, some of you are going to know this much better. I don't know anything about this. This is a book called Hidden Path by Elena Fortune, translated by Jeffrey Zamotsky. And this is what it looks like. Lovely designed thing. And this, I presume, is our author. So I don't have a pub sheet on it, but let's see what we have here. This is going to be a learning experience, I can tell already. Set in early 20th century Spain, Hidden Path is a lyrical coming-of-age novel told from the perspective of a woman painter who struggles to find her way with art and with the women she loved. The novel is narrated in the first person, following Maria Luisa as she reflects on her life from the turn of the 20th century through the outset of the Second Spanish Republic. She recalls growing from an imaginative tomboy into a docile wife and mother before claiming her independence as a portrait painter in Madrid's bohemian and queer circles. Along the way, she introduces us to a lively cast of characters who both hinder and encourage her efforts to blaze her own path. The poetic and sensuous language of Maria Luisa's private reveries commingles with agile dialogues as the protagonist leads us through her life. Okay, so I don't know this author. Who is this author? Best known in Spain as a writer of children's literature, the author left this manuscript unpublished at the time of her death in 1952, as its semi-autobiographical content risked provoking homophobic backlash under the dictatorship of Francisco Franco. The first Spanish edition appeared in 2016 and waited half a century. Good Lord. And was hailed as the author's adult masterpiece, previously unknown complement to her children's saga, Celia and Her World. And this edition, with Jeffrey Zamotsky's sensitive and nuanced translation, marks the novel's first time appearing in any language aside from Spanish. It is also the first of the author's works to appear in English. Good Lord. Incredible. It's a lot of firsts. Okay, fantastic. Great. So I don't have any information on this. I don't have a date on it, but this is a finished paperback from Swan Isle Press. This is going to, no price on it, but I'm sure it'll be over $20. But this is probably what it's going to look like. I doubt it would have French flaps if this weren't a finished copy. Fantastic. Okay, I know nothing at all. I'll have to do a huge amount of research just to read it. So that's great. Or maybe not at all. Maybe I should do no research at all to start with. Then this next one is in a priority mail envelope that raises a few hackles of suspicion. Not as many as an eBay box, but still a few hackles of suspicion, because publishers often don't do this. But let's see. Okay. What have we got here? Oh, I think I was contacted about this. Yeah, I think I was contacted about this. Okay, so this is, do I have this is a smaller publisher, and they don't they don't appear to tell me when this book comes out. Maybe it's out already. Maybe it comes out in February. This is a finished copy, so it's bound to be soon. This is by James Reston, and it is the 19th Hijacker. Let's see what we have here. Everyone knows what happened on September 11th, 2001, but do we really know what was behind this act of war? What was the lure? What was it about the Hamburg cell that appealed to him? What lured this educated son of a successful Lebanese family to the jihadist message of destruction and annihilation that would result in the death of 3,170 Americans? These questions torment Sami Haddad as he pondered his choices in August of 2001. Whether or not to continue with the operation to flee to some far-flung place with his girlfriend. Through a series of tape recordings with Sami, which Sami had made in the months before the operation, he tells his beautiful and feisty Turkish-German lover of his first meetings with Mohammed Atta in Hamburg, of his training in Afghanistan under the watchful eye of al-Qaeda's military chief, of his meeting with Osama bin Laden, where he swears his oath of allegiance, and of his final months of preparation in Florida, where he comes to loathe Mohammed Atta, but cannot find the courage to flee. So this is a novel about a hypothetical other hijacker. Or maybe not hypothetical. A sense of doubt and skepticism suffuses his musings to her, but also of weakness. After the attack on 9/11, Kommissar Recht, a rumpled German government investigator, is tasked to ferret out Carmina's role, if any, that's the girlfriend, as an al-Qaeda operative. He comes to suspect that she is withholding valuable evidence, but under German privacy law, he is barred from employing strong-arm tactics that would force her to talk. He, too, has a secret and a vulnerability concerning his own behavior as an investigator. Surviving members of the al-Qaeda cell in Hamburg also suspect that she is hiding Sami's tapes. To them, Sami's recollections are sacred artifacts of what they deem to be their successful mission, but they fear his presentation of the attack might be something less than heroic. Karima is caught between these two forces, either of which could have terrible consequences for her. How she resolves this dilemma is the climax of the novel. And James Reston is the author of 18 books, 2 of which are novels, and he's taught fiction writing at the creative writing program at the University of North Carolina for 10 years. Okay, so I don't have an actual pub date on this, but it looks like the date on this sheet is late February, so I'm assuming that's it. Okay, fantastic. So the 19th Hijacker, where, wow, I love the premise. That is fantastic. So what is all this that I've got here? A whole bunch of blurbs, including a blurb on the back from Lucian Truscott, who a lot of you won't know his name, but he's the author of a novel called Dress Gray that's really good. Dress Gray is really good. Okay, fantastic. All right, so that's a speculative novel about 9/11. I don't see as many of those as you'd expect you would. We'll move on here. It's fairly heavy, so that's good. Steve likes it. Heavy things tend to be big fat things. Steve likes big fat novels or big fat works of history. What have we got here? Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. All right, this is a March release. I think I've mentioned it on this channel before. I have read a chunk of it. Now I have the printed review copy. That's great. So this comes out in March. This is The Western Front by Nick Lloyd. This is the first of a projected trilogy about World War I by this author. It has the requisite blurry black and white photo on the cover, but the chunk that I've read is fantastic, and it was almost the whole book. So I'll read it again now that I have the printed copy. The Western Front evokes images of hardship and sacrifice, of young, mud-spattered men in waterlogged trenches, shielded from artillery blast by a few feet of dirt. Long considered the most futile arena of the First World War, the Western Front has persisted in our collective memory as a tragic waste of life. In this epic narrative, Nick Lloyd brings together the latest research from America, France, Britain, and Germany, telling the full story of the war in France and Belgium from the German invasion in 1914 to the armistice 4 years later. His sweeping chronicle reveals that the trenches were, as often as not, sites of dramatic, technological, and tactical advances, and that superior generalship helped determine the outcome of the war. Brimming with gripping descriptions and insight, The Western Front is a historical account in the tradition of Barbara Tuchman, John Keegan, and Anthony Beevor, an authoritative magisterial portrait of men at war. And you heard buried in that cover copy the little kernel here, the little hooks that will get people writing about this, which is that the author contends not only that there was some expert generalship displayed on the Western Front, when it is typically characterized as a one huge multi-part bungle by all the generals involved, but also that it wasn't as static as people have made it out to be, that it was a dynamic area. You only need one of those little hooks to get people to write about your book, and this has two. And I think there are 2 more volumes to come. So a big epic treatment of World War I, all for it. Absolutely all for it, especially since Hugh Strachan's book. Hugh Strachan is a historian of World War I, and he wrote an enormous, great book called Two Arms, which is supposed to be the first volume in a trilogy that does this very same thing, that analyzes the First World War just soup to nuts. This is just a Western Front. Hugh Strachan's book is, I assume his trilogy is going to look at everything, but it's been 20 years since that first volume came out, so I don't know that he's ever going to do that he's ever going to finish his trilogy. I wish I could find a copy of Two Arms. Boy, oh boy. Because that's a World War I book to have. I had it once upon a time, but it's long gone. But this will be a delight. That's fantastic. Okay, and now we have the box, where I suspect that one of you has broken rule number 1. Okay, this is well taped. We use trusty scissors to open it and see what we have here. I have not ordered anything from eBay recently, so this is one of you, and those of you who are new to the channel, rule number 1 is don't get me a book. No matter what, I value your generosity enormously, but don't get me a book. I know I'm surrounded by books, and I talk about them all the time, but getting me one as a present is almost certainly a waste of your time and money. Because I know what I want, and I know what I don't want. and my warnings about rule number 1 on this channel have largely fallen on deaf ears in the last month, because there's been a rash of breakings of rule number 1, and most of them have been so spot on. Most of them have been books that I absolutely want and would not give up. But that's just dumb luck. A few of you have emailed me and said that it's not dumb luck, that a few people actually pay attention to what I say I don't have, and remember it in ways that I don't. And I am, if that is true, I am just stunned by the kindness and generosity that entails. But one way or another, it is bound to lead to someone sending me something that I either already have and don't want, or don't already have and don't want. So, but let's see what we have here. This is certainly that. Oh. It's a box set. I love box sets. Some of you must have known that. Someone must have remembered me saying that. Wow, this is nice. I don't think I've ever seen this before. This is a box set of some of the old Bantam Tarzan novels. The first 6 old Tarzan look at that. That is Neil Adams. That is a detail from the Neil Adams illustration of Tarzan of the Apes. The cover of Tarzan of the Apes. Neil Adams, the famous comic book artist, famous for mostly Batman, but also Dead Man and a bunch of other things. The X-Men even. He when Bantam about 50 years ago decided to reissue all of the Tarzan novels with new cover art, they got Neil Adams to do a few of them. The original plan was that he would do all of them, but he kind of lost interest in that, and so the cover drawing tasks were taken on by other people like Boris Vallejo or people like that. But actually, I can show you the whole cover, because that is one of the novels that is in here. So this set includes Tarzan of the Apes, The Return of Tarzan, The Beasts of Tarzan, The Son of Tarzan, Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar, and Jungle Tales of Tarzan. And we should Sue Morrow should probably not be watching, because whoever owned this set originally did not keep them in numerical order, and that's going to drive her nuts. I will put them in numerical order, I promise. But this is the Neil Adams cover to Tarzan of the Apes, where you have Tarzan in a shaft of sunlight in the middle of a forest, and he is charging at Gomangani. He's charging at one of the weird man apes that raised him. But then, well, actually, let me show you the rest of the covers here, since that's the whole point. So let's get to number 2. Number 2 is this, Tarzan spearing a lion. Then we have let's get them in order here. Number 3, The Beasts of Tarzan. Always struck me, there's a Neil Adams cover, it's very pretty, but it's always struck me as an odd cover, because your hero is completely helpless on the cover, and that's kind of strange. Then number 4, The Son of Tarzan. That is Korak the Killer on the cover. You can tell because he has a headband. Tarzan, I guess in Neil Adams' iconography, does not have a headband, and that is probably supposed to be Miriam in the background, his beloved. Then number 5, Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar. Another strange Neil Adams composition. You have the High Priestess La, L.A., there in the distance, and she is surrounded by the Beastmen, who are all that remain of the high civilization of Atlantis. And in the foreground, as the dramatic center of the cover, we have Tarzan's tushy. I didn't understand this even when it was brand new. I saw it on the spinner rack at the dry goods store, and I still don't understand it. It has the same implicit drama of all of Neil Adams' compositions, so I can't gainsay it that. The main piece of drama on this cover is not so much the figures as it is the play of light and darkness, because you have, in the distance, you have Tarzan's destination, you have the throne room of La. But in the main focus of the picture is the darkness Tarzan is creeping through. The throne room is just one column of light. The darkness surrounds it except where it glints on Tarzan's knife. That is Neil Adams' genius. I just never understood it. And this is widely regarded, I think rightfully so, as one of the greatest Tarzan novels of them all. Edgar Rice Burroughs, he was no Edith Wharton. Let's just put it that way. And a lot of the Tarzan novels were written just bashing off on a manual typewriter without a whole lot of consideration. Tarzan and the Jewels of Opar and Tarzan of the Apes, I think, are the two exceptions to that, the two ones that really read better than the others do, although The Son of Tarzan is my favorite of them all. And then we have number 6, The Jungle Tales of Tarzan. This is also Neil Adams. I think it was soon after this that Neil Adams stopped regularly doing these covers, so this is a great set to have. And Jungle Tales of Tarzan is not one whole novel. It's a collection of stories about Tarzan from different periods in his life, including in his youth. It has a delectable villain. I don't think you can't really... No, you can't really see. This is from another tale. There is a villain in one of these stories, a witch doctor who's really memorable. And there, I put them in correct numerical order to go back in the box. So, of course, Bantam did all of these. They did a whole shelf of them. And I believe it was Mark Richardson who very nicely sent me a whole shelf of these things. So it can't be him. He can't be the one who got me this. It has to be somebody else. And I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Well, of course, thank you. I say thank you for this. This is very, very nice. And I very much want it. Even though I already have these. I have all of Tarzan on ebook, and I have all of these great old Bantam black spine Tarzans. You couldn't do without them. This is the best paperback set of Tarzan that's ever been done. They did this at the exact same time that they were doing the Tales of Barsoom, and those also look beautiful. I don't know that there's a box set of those, but this is lovely. I didn't know this box set existed, so that is fantastic, and I very much appreciate it. I very much appreciate it. So that's the mail for today. We have The Western Front by Nick Lloyd. We have The 19th Hijacker by James Reston, a 9/11 novel. We have Hidden Path by apparently a beloved children's author, and this thing is the very first time that it's ever appeared in any language except Spanish. And the very first time that's ever appeared in English. So that's great. And then Beloved Beasts, which despite its title seems to be largely about human conservationists who have striven to save these animals. And finally, A Violation of Rule Number 1, a box set of the first 6 great Tarzan novels. There was a slight drop-off in quality after this, but these are, if you're going to read any Tarzan, read these. And that is so nice. It is so nice to have this box set. I love them, especially in addition to just how cool they are, how geekish they are. I also love that you can put them anywhere. They don't require shelf space the way all other books do, because a box set you can put anywhere. I have them scattered all over the place here, and I love them for that. So that is the mail. I cannot, whoever you are, I will scrutinize the package just in case there's a way for me to find out. But thank you very much for sending me a box of books. But nevertheless, rule number 1 still applies. Snow or no snow, don't send me a book. Or if you insist on sending me a book, check with me ahead of time. I know that a lot of you will think, oh, that ruins the surprise, but I'm still going to squeal with happiness, I guarantee you, if I get it in the mail, even though I know it's coming. Or if you really want to get me a book, but you don't want to run afoul of rule number 1 in any way, then just call the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston and swear out a store credit in any amount that you want from me. You all know I shop at the $1 carts outside, not on a snowy day like today, but usually. Which means any amount of money that you call into them is going to go a long way. And you can, more than likely, no matter who picks up the phone, you can just say, I want to give Steve some store credit. You won't even have to identify me by surname. They will know who you're talking about. If you really want me to get a book, that's the best way to do it. Far better than Barnes & Noble, because Barnes & Noble is so expensive that even when it's credit, it feels wrong to spend that much on books. I do sometimes, but the Brattle, calling in store credit to the Brattle Bookshop in Boston is the surest way, not only to please me, but eventually to please you, since you know I'm going to haul whatever I get with that credit. So, but that is the only contravention of rule number 1 that really makes sense. But anyway, that's the mail for today. I'm going to try and take the bean out in this weather before it gets any worse. But who knows how that will be. She's figured out snow, and she knows she doesn't like it. And in a battle of wills with my 10-pound ball of lint, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose anyway, right? I'm going to yield anyway with my dogs. I yield in battles of will, unless it's something that's going to harm them that they don't know is going to harm them. If it's preference, I'm here for them. So if there's a battle of wills, I might say, oh, come on, Lucy, I'm comfortable. But I'm still going to say yes. But so if there's a battle of wills out there because it's snowing, I will just say, well, okay, you're out here for 2 reasons. 1 is to go to the bathroom, and 2 is to sniff around and meet people and scream at strangers and insist that they pat you and all that sort of thing. You're obviously not going to do number 2 because there's nobody out here. And if you're not going to go to the bathroom out here because you don't like the snow, then you can't be all German and anal retentive to the limited extent that those 2 things are different. If you're inside and you have to go, it's perfectly fine by me if you go in the house, but she won't do it. She absolutely won't do it. And I want to tell her on days when it's pouring rain or when it's driving down snow, just go ahead. I'll pick up after you. It's no problem at all. Just do it. And we'll worry about going outside when it's beautiful outside, which is not going to be this week. Anyway, I'm going to give that a try now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.